Hey, as you start to join, let me know where you're watching from. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the weekly live coaching session with me, Kelly McHugh. I'm the founder of Digital Yoga Academy. So hello on Facebook. We've got a three-way going on here. We've got Instagram over here. As you're joining me on Instagram, let me know where you're watching from, guys. And then I'm also live in the Facebook group, the Digital Yoga Academy Facebook group, and also on my business page as well. So as you start to join, say hello, let me know where you're watching from. I'm really excited to be back because I've actually just spent a few weeks in Bali. And so I haven't been able to do these lives with you. I did try a couple of weeks ago and I was just having some real Wi-Fi issues. So I'm back and doing these weekly live coaching sessions with you. And every week I come live onto Facebook and Instagram and talk about a different topic. And today it seems very fitting to talk about yoga retreats because I've just returned from Bali where I was hosting a yoga retreat for yoga teachers. So slightly different to your usual yoga retreat. It was a business retreat for yoga teachers. So we had 16 yoga teachers joining me in Bali, and all of those teachers were there to learn about how to grow their yoga business and also specifically how to start teaching yoga online. So the retreat was called The Online Yogi, and we were based in Ubud for a week, and they were learning how to film content, use equipment, edit videos, and then also how to build their communities online so that they had a community, or so that they have a community to launch their online courses when their online courses are ready. So that's what we've been doing in Bali, and it was absolutely amazing. And the last few days, I just got back a few days ago, and the last few days I've been receiving testimonials from the lovely teachers who joined me in Bali, which has been absolutely amazing to watch their videos and to read the testimonials that they've been sharing with me. And that's kind of where, you know, I decided today to do this training on planning yoga retreats and the mistakes that some teachers make when they come to planning yoga retreats. Because, you know, when you receive testimonials and people are saying things like, it changed my life, you know, you have to kind of sit back and think, wow, you know, that's amazing for somebody to say that and to receive such positive feedback. Because, you know, when it comes to planning and hosting a yoga retreat, it takes a lot of hard work and it takes a lot of energy and also careful planning. So to receive, you know, such positive feedback and testimonials, well, it tells you that you've done a really good job. You should give yourself a little pat on the back. But you might ask yourself, well, how do I do a good job? How do I do a good job? And the way you do a good job is you plan. Yeah, that's it. That's how you plan. You plan and plan and plan. You give yourself enough time to plan, you know, an amazing experience, or to craft an amazing experience for your retreaters. So I know that, you know, lots of teachers are wanting to host yoga retreats, and it's really great. It's really great. It's a really great addition to your offering to start offering yoga retreats, because it's a really great way to build your business, to build your community, and also to, you know, bring more income into your business, but also to offer a transformational experience for your students. So it actually becomes a bit of a win-win, which is really great. So this is why I really wanted to talk about this today, because it's quite easy to just dive straight into it and to get really excited about the fact that you're going to run a yoga retreat, and, you know, and you start getting into the creative juices start flowing, and you start thinking about the location and all of these other exciting parts of you know, putting together and crafting the experience. But there are a few things that you need to do before you get into that planning process. And if you don't do these things, well, you know, they're mistakes. If you don't do them, then you're making some mistakes. So I want to share with you 3 mistakes today that yoga teachers make when it comes to planning their retreat. But it's very much in the sense of, you know, before you start the planning process. So it's kind of like, bring it back a little bit. It's before you start the planning process, you need to consider these 3 things so that they don't become mistakes. Okay, so is everyone with me? So let me just check in on how we're doing here on Facebook. Let me see if I've got any comments coming through. So yeah, say hello if you're joining me in the group, or if you're joining me over on the page. I can see we've got Zara and Rosie on the page. Hey guys. And Phoebe, you still there? Phoebe's in the group. And hey guys on Instagram, hello. Hey Bridget. Hey guys, nice for you to, hey Carol. Oh, thank you guys, thanks for joining me. Let me know where you're watching from, everyone. And you know, if you've got any questions as well, then we can cover those at the end as well, so I don't miss anything. Okay, so let's kind of dive into it. So 3 of the things, 3 mistakes, 3 mistake to maker, which you're not going to make. Okay, and because like I said, you know, it's easy to dive straight into thinking about location and theme and all of these fun details that go into creating your retreat. And of course, like I said, that's the really exciting part, because you're envisioning, you know, what kind of retreat experience you're going to offer, and it helps you to feel really inspired, you know, before you get into the planning process. But before you get into all of that, there's just these 3 things that I want you to keep in mind, so that you've really got a solid foundation for your retreat planning process. Okay, it's going to help you, and it's going to help you to save time in the long run. Okay, so the first thing is to not have your foundations in place, right? It's to not have your foundations in place. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? Well, if you are joining me every week, I talk about these foundations week in, week out when I come live to you guys and do these trainings. So things like your yoga website, and what am I going to say, guys? What am I going to say? Email marketing. Things like email marketing, having an email list so you can collect details of your potential students who could end up being, you know, your retreaters. So things like that, having your marketing foundations in place. Yeah, and I often talk about the 4 foundations, and they're kind of like foundational pillars. So it's your website, which is your online home, your hub. There's being visible on social media, so just being visible, really, being in the places that your students are hanging out. So whether that means being live on Instagram or on Facebook, or just engaging in conversations, but being visible. And email marketing is the other one. So email marketing and content, creating content. So they're the kind of 4 foundational pillars that you should have in place. And they really are kind of your base level to build your home up, right? So you need to have these things in place. And if you're going to start offering something like a higher priced offering, like a yoga retreat, if you don't have these things in place, how can you successfully do that? How can you successfully push out your messaging? You know, how can you create a community that you're going to sell your yoga retreat to? If you haven't got these marketing foundations in place, you can't do that. Okay, so I know that it can be very exciting, you know, opportunity to think about, oh wow, I want to run a yoga retreat, but just take a step back, and first up, before you go into this planning process of, you know, planning your yoga retreat, make sure you've got these aspects in place. Okay, is everyone with me on that? Is everyone with me? So you're going to make sure you've got your email list. So you're going to have forms on your website that will collect people's email addresses, and hopefully you're going to have a free piece of content, something valuable that your yoga niche, that your ideal student will be interested in, and that you can offer to them in exchange for their email address. Okay, so if you're really kind of clueless with all of this and you don't know what I'm talking about, then go to the Facebook Digital Yoga Academy page and go to videos and just have a look through some of the titles on the videos. I'm here every week and I talk about this stuff every week, right? So so go and watch some of the email marketing videos or some of the website videos so that you can get up to speed with this stuff. So Carol just said, I've been really lucky to be getting people from my students in classes. Getting people from my students in classes. I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean email addresses? Have you been getting email addresses from your students in classes? Yeah, that's great. So use every opportunity basically that you can. And yeah, okay, so I'm going to move on. So that's the first thing. The first thing is a mistake to make if you don't have those foundations in place first up, and then if you just jump straight into planning and promoting a yoga retreat, if you don't have those marketing foundations in place. Okay, so make sure you've got that first up. So that's the first mistake, and we'll move on to the next one. So the next mistake is to not understand the costs. Okay, to not understand the costs. So this is what some people do. Some people they jump into creating their yoga retreat, and they look at what the market is, in terms of what other yoga teachers are pricing their retreat at, and they pick a number that feels right and they go with it. And then they start obviously pulling together a little bit more, pulling together the retreat actual experience, and finding that they're not covering their costs, because actually you need to work out all of your retreat costs before you set the price of your retreat. Does that make sense? So you work out all of your retreat costs before setting the price of your retreat. We're not just going to pluck a price out of thin air because it sounds good, or we think that's what our students will pay, or that's what another yoga teacher has charged for their retreat. You need to know your costs, okay? Super important. It's part of your planning process. You need to work out everything, all of your expenses, before you can work out what you're going to charge your students to come along on your retreat, okay? So any ideas, guys, of what some of your expenses might be? So pop them in the comments if you've got any ideas on what your expenses, your retreat expenses might be. So the obvious one is the accommodation, okay? So, maybe you've booked a private villa. So what is the cost to stay in that villa for a week, or the number of days that you're booking it for? Or maybe you're working with a retreat center and they're giving you a total cost, quite likely that they'll include the food and everything else. So they'll give you a cost per student. Okay, so that's your first thing. Any other ideas as to where are we? As to the types of costs that you're going to incur? What about food? Food is obviously a big cost, food and drink. So Yogini Rach on Instagram is saying flights, chef, teacher cover for classes back home. Yeah, that's a really good point. Well done. Well done. And Bridget says flights, air transport, photographer, gift bags. Yeah, exactly. Carol says, not being able to teach my classes back home and travel and the time. It's a good job that you said that, because I was going to come up speak about that. But yeah, your time. You need to account for your time, because a lot of time goes into planning and promoting your retreat. So you really do need to account for that. That's often one that gets forgotten. And where are we? Zara says props and activities. Exactly. So if you're doing, if you're offering surfing sessions, or surfing classes, lessons, you're going to be working with a supplier to provide that to you. What is the cost per person for that? So yeah, all good. And then things like, you know, the cost of your marketing activity. If you're bringing another teacher along with you, what are you going to pay them? And you know, if you're booking a retreat centre, what about any tips? Tips for staff in the retreat centre? You might want to account for that as well. So you really need to think about all of this. Even your travel back home. So, you know, for me, when I travel for my retreats, you know, the travel from me to get to my home to the airport, don't forget about things like that. If you're hiring a car, it's another cost, and so on. So think about, spend some real time thinking about everything that's involved. You know, if you're providing travel for your students to get from the airport on the other side, if you're running an international retreat, from the airport to the retreat villa, or maybe you don't include that. You know, these are all decisions that you'll have to make when it comes to actually crafting the experience and pricing it. But you do need to understand all of these things, all of these costs and expenses before you set the price for your retreat. So get really clear on it, get really, really super clear, and also leave some room for, you know, any unexpected expenses. So I always have a line in my budget for, you know, cash and just unexpected things that you need to get when you're there. And then when you have a clear idea, you have a clear vision of a clear picture of, you know, all of your costs, it's only at that point that you can then start to figure out, you know, how many students you need to actually break even. So by that I mean cover all the costs, and then how many students you need, how many bookings you need to make a profit, and also how many to actually make the retreat worthwhile for you. Yeah, because you have to think about your time and your energy and what's actually going to make this worthwhile for you. Okay, so yeah, make sure that you spend some good time here. Make sure you spend some time, and it's not something that you know, you're going to get straight away. You might have to play around with the numbers, because you might find that you put in all of those costs and then you start looking at what you would potentially charge people, and actually you're not making much profit. So you might have to go back and just reassess some of the lines in your budget. You know, maybe the venue is too expensive. Maybe you need to look for another villa. You know, or maybe some of the activities that you're offering are actually too expensive to include. So spend some time on this, and what else can I say on it? Just, yeah, lastly, don't forget, and this actually leads us in nicely into mistake number 3, but don't forget to think about the bigger picture. Okay, when it comes to pricing your retreat, because a lot of teachers, they price their retreats way too low. Yeah, they price it way too low. That might come from fear. You know, maybe it's the first time you've done a retreat. I know I could speak from experience with this. I've hosted, in the last 2.5 years, I've hosted 15 yoga retreats. They've all sold out, but the very first yoga retreat that I hosted, that I ran, was way underpriced. And at the time, that was okay for me. You know, I was okay with that, because I was kind of in the mindset of wanting to create content. So I was like, okay, as long as I cover my costs and I can get loads of content, I can bring a photographer in, get all my photos and videos, and then I can use that to then promote my next retreats. So think about, you know, what your goal is as well. But don't forget, when you're pricing your retreat, don't forget the bigger picture, the value that you're offering your students, okay? Don't forget, you know, what are your students really getting? Because it's not just, you know, yoga classes and some healthy food and staying in a nice place. Actually, what are they really getting? You know, it's a chance for them to disconnect from whatever's going on back home. It's a chance for them to, you know, maybe, you know, go through a period of healing and transformation whilst on your retreat. So think about what it is that you're actually offering your students. And that brings me nicely onto mistake number 3, which is which is not understanding your ideal student. Okay, not understanding your ideal student and their wants and their needs. So again, because retreats are really exciting, and you know, we can get really kind of pumped up about it and dive straight into creating what we think our students want, quite often we just do that. We think we intuitively know what they want without actually asking them. So those of you that are watching, have any of you done a retreat, and have you actually taken the time to ask your students before you planned your retreat? Did you take the time to survey them perhaps, or get some feedback about what they actually want in a retreat from you? Because I think most often that doesn't happen. We kind of start planning based on what we want and what we like. And I totally get that. But what you're really after, like the ideal kind of sweet spot really, is to create something that your students really need and want, so what they're really looking for, and that something is something that you're also passionate about. That's the sweet spot, right? When you're really passionate about something that you want to offer, and it's in a location that you love, and you know that your students, because you've had feedback from them, that they also really love that thing. They also really want to travel to that place that you're passionate about. And if you can get those two things to marry up, then you're onto a winner. You really are. I mean, it's and again, I speak from experience here with my Ibiza retreats. So I've been running the Ibiza retreats. I think I've done 9 or 10 there now. But I've been going to Ibiza for 20 years. So I've been going there more than 20 years now, actually, 21 years. I've probably stepped on the island the same amount of the same number. So obviously, like in my 20s, I was there quite a lot for like the party scene. And then as I've come into my 30s and late 30s, you know, it's been more about well-being and yoga. But, you know, I love that island. So for me to be able to promote a retreat in a place that I love, I can just do it with so much more passion, and I can share everything I know about the island, and I can create experiences based on, you know, the places I've been and the beaches that I've been to, and all of that good stuff. So and then at the same time, I know my audience for my retreat business, which is called Good Yoga Life, which is all about fun and balance, and, you know, just basically not taking yoga or yourself too seriously. I know that my community and my audience, they also want that. They want fun and adventure, and, you know, they want to be able to explore the island of Ibiza and just enjoy themselves and have a cocktail, you know, around the pool, or have some wine with their dinner. So I know that I can create an experience that really matches up with what my community wants as well. So the way you do that is you have to ask your students, you have to ask them, you need to do surveys. So before you get into the planning process, you know, I really, really encourage you to survey your students. So create a little survey, you know, get some feedback. Use SurveyMonkey. It's a really easy tool. It's online and it's free. But remember, you know, this retreat is about them. So you need to understand what they want. Yeah, just, you know, ask them what they want. You take the guesswork out of your decision making and out of your planning, because if you don't, and you just go with what you think your students want, you might find that you're not going to get people booking onto your retreat, and you might even have to cancel it, which would be, you know, a real shame. So Toma, hey Toma, has said you have asked, but just a lot to keep quiet. Okay, well, don't be afraid to send out the survey a couple of times. You know, you give yourself like a period of, say, like 3 weeks where you're going to push out your survey as much as you can. Use Instagram, the poll features and question features on Instagram stories. You know, use SurveyMonkey. ask the question in your email and just ask people to reply back. Speak to your regular students after class, ask them, just have a little conversation. You know, don't just stick to one thing and just send it out once. Be persistent with it. You need to get this feedback. You need to gather the feedback. And people might get an email, you know, from you that says, oh, fill out this survey. And they think, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. And then they forget. So just ask them again. And if you can, you know, give them an incentive. If you can give someone a free class or, you know, a, I don't know, like a discount for an event or something like that. Give people a little incentive. Don't worry about pestering people. You know, you need to get this information, and people are just busy. We're bombarded by so many messages all day long, but you know, people generally don't mind. So just send them another little reminder, and if they really want to take part in it, then they will. Okay, but again, just use social media. Even go live on social media and just ask people, just say, guys, you know, I'm really excited. I want to be able to offer this to you, but I want to be able to, you know, create something that you guys really want and love. Okay. So, and your people will want to get involved. So don't be afraid to kind of continue to reach out to them. Okay. I think that's more or less it from me. So they're the 3 mistakes that you might make if you just jump headfirst into planning your retreat. So see this as the first step, okay? The first step, your foundations, get your marketing foundations in place, your website, your email marketing, start being visible. You know, if you are completely silent on social media and then all of a sudden you go onto social media and start promoting your yoga retreat, it's just not going to have any impact. It's not going to be effective, okay? So get your marketing foundations in place to begin with before you do anything. And then before you start planning anything, look at all of your costs. Start looking at all of those costs. Understand your costs. Start playing around with some figures in a spreadsheet so you understand what you need to do around your budget and your costs, okay? Because this is the business side of it, and this is the side that, you know, we tend to kind of want to leave till last, but don't do that. And then number 3, survey and get feedback from your students, okay? So we want to do all of those 3 things so that we don't make those mistakes. Okay, so if you want any more help and assistance with planning your yoga retreats, actually moving into the planning side of things, the logistics, you know, thinking about the location and all of the decision making that you need to make when it comes to planning your yoga retreat. This month's Success Club training is all about that. So it's called Retreat Planning Success, and it's a bite-sized training that went live at the start of this month. So if you're unfamiliar with the Success Club, it's a monthly membership club for yoga teacher entrepreneurs, which is you guys, and it's a really affordable way to learn with me every single month. So every month there's a new training, and we have a private Facebook group for all the members, and we do a live Q&A at the end of each month as well based on that training, so you get to connect with me live. It's only $24 a month, but if you want to join, you can get your first month for $12, and the promo code for that is 2019 Success. Okay, you can cancel at any time. There are 14 trainings in there already, so you can go in there, you can see all of the trainings. They cover everything from websites to email marketing, social media, everything. So yeah, so that's the first thing I wanted to let you know. And next month's training is going to be on promoting retreats. So this is actually part of a 2-part kind of training, the first part being on planning, and then the second month being on marketing and promoting the retreat and filling the retreat. Okay, so that was the first thing I wanted to tell you. And then next week, next Monday, we kick off the 5-day challenge, Yoga Biz Accelerator Challenge. So guys, do you know about this? I hope you know about it. If you're on my email list, you definitely know about it. So a few hundred people have already signed up to join, and it kicks off on Monday the 11th. It runs for 5 days, and if you're feeling stuck in your business and you just feel like you've been in the same place for a long time and you're not sure which direction to move in, then you need to join me for the challenge next week. So it's 5 days and you get 5 challenges. So a challenge every single day. Okay, and the challenges are going to be delivered to you in a Facebook group. So once you've signed up for the challenge, you'll receive an email with the link to the Facebook group. Okay, and if you're on Instagram, then just head to my profile and you'll see the link to sign up for the challenge there. And if you guys are watching me on Facebook, I'm going to just add the link to the challenge in the Facebook group here. Okay, guys, so I'm going to head off in a sec, but are there any questions? Are there any questions? Any questions before I go around retreats, planning retreats, specifically planning? Okay, if you're watching on Facebook, I'm just adding in the link now to the challenge. So on planning retreats, any questions? Oh, I had one about the flyer. I think I missed that. Let's have a look. Let me just go through. So Carol asked, do you get the same people coming or different if it's the same place? So basically I have retreaters that book again and again. So like my Sri Lanka retreat, which is I'm heading to Sri Lanka in 2 weeks. I'm doing a yoga and surfing retreat there, and some of the students that are coming to that retreat, this is their 4th retreat with me. So they've kind of moved around with me. They've been to Ibiza and Morocco and France, and now they're coming to Sri Lanka. So yeah, I get there's like a little kind of group that kind of come you know, again and again, which is great. That's exactly what you want, right? So you know you've done a good job if that happens, if you've got people rebooking your retreat. But yeah, I mean, people coming from generally the majority of my retreat guests are people who know good yoga life. You know, they have been to a class here in London, or they've been to one of my events here in London. So I run monthly events. So Sunday I ran like a day retreat, and I run these events. So people come to these events and workshops, and then they obviously see my retreat offering. So I talk about this as the kind of marketing funnel. You know, get people to your classes, fill your classes up. Some of those people will start to then filter through and book your events and workshops, and then some of those people will filter through again and will book your retreats. That is one of the easiest ways to fill your retreats, is to actually fill your classes first. Fill your classes up. It's easier for you to fill classes, okay, than it is just to suddenly launch a retreat without any community. Build your community with your classes, and then you'll see that people will start moving through. Okay, that's exactly what's worked for me, and I've filled 15 yoga retreats now. So that's exactly what's worked for me. But you know, having said that, I have had retreaters coming from America, China, and they're people that have just found it online. You know, they've Googled Morocco yoga retreat March 2018. So like literally they've Googled that, and then my retreat has come up first because my SEO is in place. And if you're not sure about SEO, that's something you can learn about in the Success Club, which I just mentioned, which is my monthly membership. There's a training on website optimization, how to optimize your website for SEO. So that's so that people can find your website, new eyes on your site. So yeah, so hopefully that helped to answer that question. And I can't find the flyer one. Oh, sorry. Where is it? I can't find the flyer one. Oh, okay. What to put on a flyer to make it attractive and not overwhelm with words to encourage them to check the website link? Yeah, I mean, nice imagery, nice imagery. Don't put too much on there. Think about the main transformation. So I talked about this a little bit. You know, what is it that you're really offering? Understanding who your students are so you can really speak to them. Okay, remember, we are bombarded with messages all day long. If you can cut through that noise because you know who your ideal student is and use that in your messaging, you know, your marketing messaging becomes so much clearer. Okay, you'll gain real clarity. So nice images, nice eye-catching images, and really stick to what your retreat offering is. I like to kind of bullet point some of the things that they're getting. So, you know, like if there's you know, any specific trips, like whale watching, we're doing whale watching in Sri Lanka, or surfing, or whatever it might be. So yeah, okay, guys, I think we're all cool here. Hey Ruth. Just seen you joined me. Okay, beautiful people. I'm going to leave you. I'm going to leave you now. So that's 40 minutes of me talking non-stop. Yeah, so I hope you'll join me next week for the Yoga Biz Accelerator Challenge. I'm really excited about it. So please join. And I will be back on Tuesday as well next week to do one of these trainings as well. So I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care, everybody. Have a beautiful day. Bye bye.